Hi friends, we are here to do our Q2 book haul, and you guys are a little bit further away from me today because I accidentally gave myself a chemical burn on the lower half of my face. I was prescribed this new face cream by my dermatologist, and I didn't do it right, and so it gave me a chemical burn along my chin and my jawline, so I put it on wrong, and then I woke up the next morning and have you guys seen American Psycho? Do you know the scene in American Psycho where he peels off his face mask and he peels like the whole thing off in one? Yeah, that is kind of what I woke up to the next morning, so I'm not allowed to put anything on it. I can't put makeup on it, so we're a little bit further away. Also, it's still kind of... Anyway, we're moving on. My goal this year was to buy less books, and by less, I mean less than what I was buying before, which was way too many. The year before I started my channel, and the first few months of my channel, I was buying so many books, and it was mostly out of fear. I thought I wouldn't be able to keep up on BookTube if I didn't buy up every single book that I saw other creators talking about. I have since unlearned that lesson. So my goal now is just to be buying less books than the insane amount that I was buying back then. And I did that. I would only have 23 books here to show you if there wasn't for one specific day and one specific incident. So there's actually 34 books here. 34 books over 3 months' time does not feel very big to me. This feels very manageable. And so I'm happy where we stand. Although I would have been happier if it was down at that 23 mark. I'll explain that when I get to it. I have 4 different stacks of books here, and the first stack I'm going to show you is the ARCs that I've received over the last 3 months. And I'm starting there because one of these books is going to inform one of the other books that I had to buy for myself. First up, I was sent The Devil Knows Her Name by C.N. Vare. I know in the UK, I think this is called Fawn. And this is about a woman who seems like kind of a witch who lives in Appalachia. Her home is now a wildlife sanctuary, and the spells she's woven keep the land and community safe. So essentially, she's this immortal witch who lives in Appalachia. She has this wildlife sanctuary. She's immortal because she made a deal with the devil after she was attacked by some guy and she nearly died. Now she runs this wildlife sanctuary. She comes across an orphaned fawn with unnatural appetites, and then a new pastor comes to town and he wants to take away everything that she's worked for. Meanwhile, she has the devil still whispering in her ear, trying to get her to make another bargain in order to get rid of this fucking pastor and to keep her land safe and her wildlife sanctuary and her little baby deer who maybe eats people, it sounds like. This book comes out August 25th of this year, and I am very excited to get to it. Anything that has to do with animals, wildlife sanctuaries, that's my shit. And so that was The Devil Knows Her Name, or Fawn. I was also sent a book called Sanctuary by James Cleary, which I believe is a post-apocalyptic, let's see. Climate disasters have crippled the United States. With half the country underwater and the other half a dust bowl, civil unrest soon escalates into something darker, something unstoppable. It's a nightmare for the average person, but for those with great wealth, it's an opportunity, of course. They've channeled their money, power, and influence into being prepared for the great unraveling. Accompanied by a tough professional security team, one billionaire and his family must retreat to the Sanctuary, their underground bunker, a vast luxury mansion beneath the parched earth of the Nebraskan Great Plains. But they are not alone. Above ground, a group of raiders is desperate to survive and will use any means possible to accomplish that goal. This kind of feels like the rich people version of I Who Have Never Known Men, in like one particular way, obviously. This, this wasn't an ARC. Okay, so these are just books that were sent to me by publishers in general. This was not an ARC. This already came out. They just sent it to me to read, to have, for fun. Why did you send this to me? Oh, here's a free copy of a book that we think that you'll read and enjoy. Okay, well, thank you to all the publishers sending me these books that they think I'll enjoy. By the way, speaking of books I'll enjoy, there have been a handful of books sent to me by publishers in the last few months that are romance books, and I'm not including them in this pile because they're going to be immediately passed along to someone else, whoever else wants them. We know I don't read romance. If any publishers happen to be watching this video for some reason, please know that I appreciate everything that you send me, but if you send me romance books, they will be passed along immediately. So if you're okay with that, that's fine. I'll pass them along. Thank you. The next book I was sent is called The Ghost City by Ryan Pote. I have never heard of this author before, but apparently he writes adventure thrillers. I've never read an adventure thriller. I haven't read many thrillers, to be fair. This feels kind of like National Treasure in a book, that kind of deal. This is about a billionaire who wants to follow a map that Marco Polo created that leads to an ancient city buried underneath the snows of Antarctica. Within that city lies the keys to a forgotten technology that will transform transform modern society, but that transformation may cause the deaths of millions. So he hires professional treasure hunter and adventurer Ethan Kane, and they go on this adventure together. When I looked this up when they first sent it to me, I found out that it's apparently the first book in a series following Ethan Kane. And like it said, he's this treasure hunter and adventurer, and it sounds like some kind of a mixture of National Treasure, Mission Impossible, maybe a little of The Mummy and Indiana Jones. And I love all of those with all of my heart. So I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna give it a try, but obviously I have to get the first book. So that's a little spoiler, but I did wind up buying the first book. You'll see it in the next pile. Oh, and this also wasn't an ARC. This is just the finished copy of the book. Next I have The Night Hunter by Natalie Moss. If you will look at this cover, that's a jaguar, and that's a jaguar in a tree on the African savanna. So obviously this caught my attention. I opened it up and I was like, oh, this is my kind of shit. However, it's a mystery thriller, which isn't, well, I can't say it's not usually my type of shit because I've only ever read 2 mystery thrillers. So that's not fair. But the cover indicates that this might be exactly my shit. This is coming out on July 28th. Spoiler alert, I may or may not be in the process of reading it right now. For a video you will find out about soon. You'll find out soon. The Night Hunter is about 2 sisters who grew up in South Africa with a conservationist mother. They have to return to the wildlife game reserve that they used to live on after their mother passes. And for Danielle, our main character, her mother has left her a note saying, "Find the storehouse, burn everything inside." And what begins as a reluctant homecoming disguised as a safari adventure turns into a nightmare when a murder rocks their first morning in the bush. Now Danielle must lead them on foot across miles of merciless savanna with dwindling supplies and only 1 rifle. As the group navigates land where every rustle could mean death, a truth emerges: someone is sabotaging their escape. So if there's any mystery thriller that I'm going to love, hopefully it would be one set in Africa. And I've only read like, I've only read 56 pages so far, but I'm having a good time. I don't know what to expect because I don't read mystery thrillers. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be looking out for, but I'm having a good time. Penultimately, by publishers, I was sent Witch Queen Rising by Savannah Stevens. This is, did this come out already? I think this came out already. I guess I was only sent 3 actual arcs over the last few months and then 3 books that have already come out. They just want me to have them. So Witch Queen Rising is about a reclusive witch who fled the burden of her bloodline, who rises to be the greatest among them. As a girl, Seraphine Barreau was dubbed the Tick Witch for her ability to feed on magic and make it her own. She was a powerful outcast, feared and misunderstood by her people. Now dragged back to continue the legacy that nearly destroyed her, Fiend has her work cut out for her. She must earn the respect of her people, navigate the politics of the paranormal communities residing in her city, and heal a broken heart, all the while battling a parasitic curse poisoning witchkin. Between her werewolf ex, power-hungry vampires, and the skeletons in her family's closet, Fiend must learn to make peace with her past to save her and all of Witchkin's future. Whoa. Witches, werewolves, and vampires all in one book. Last but not least, from publishers, this one's actually an ARC. It goes on sale August 2026. Does it say an actual date? August 11th, 2026. The Inevitable Undoing of Zahara Douglas by Leslie Penelope. And this one seems to have some time f***ery in it, so that makes me very excited, obviously. In April 1994, Zahara watched her twin sister Annika get hustled into a stranger's car and disappear, only to return to a world where no one remembers Annika ever existed. Not her mother, not the police, no one. Determined to uncover the truth, she hires a private investigator and begins digging into her family's shadowed past. When the investigation leads to 2 charismatic men who once served with her father in Vietnam, Zahara realizes she and her sister may be pawns in a dangerous power struggle with unthinkable consequences. To find her sister, Zahara must face the truth about her family, her memories, and the power lurking within her. But the sisters' reunion comes at a price, one that could unravel reality and bring about the end of the world. That's time f***ery if I've ever heard of it, and that was the 6 books that publishers have sent me. Next, I will move on to books that I have purchased myself over the last 3 months. And I'm starting with 11 of them, because that is almost what I was able to keep it to. So like I said, I received The Ghost City from the publisher. That was the 2nd book in a series, so obviously I had to get the 1st book in the series, Blood and Treasure, also by Ryan Pote. The International Space Station suddenly loses contact with Earth. When a NASA tech devises a way to restore the feed, the images that come through are unfathomable. A scene of terrible violence, the crew unresponsive unresponsive, droplets of blood hovering in zero gravity. But which of the astronauts on board would have done such a thing, and why? Off the coast of Mozambique, former special ops pilot and current treasure hunter Ethan Kane sees something he can't believe. An object shot out of the heavens plunging deep into the Indian Ocean. When he investigates, the mystery deepens. A space capsule has crashed into the sea, and inside is a woman, alone, unconscious, and injured. Ethan knows he must save her. What he doesn't know is who she is, how she got there, or why she's the only survivor from a killing spree conducted 254 miles above the Earth. This sounds like every mid 2.5 star Gerard Butler end of the world apocalyptic movie that I love. If this series winds up being a mid Gerard Butler movie in a book, I'm going to fucking love them. This sounds like that, what movie was it? The one where Gerard Butler plays security detail for the president and then his brother was an astronaut. I can't remember what movie it is, but it sounds like that mixed with Mission Impossible, mixed with National Treasure. I'm fucking down. The first one is about a mystery on the International Space Station, and then the second one is about finding a secret city underneath Antarctica. If these books wind up being good, I am fucking ready. Wait, let's check. Hold on. We're gonna check the Goodreads ratings right now. Okay, Blood and Treasure has 3.89 stars, and The Ghost City has 4.31 stars. However, that one only has 39 ratings. This one only has 468 ratings. So together, we could be uncovering like a new incredible series. So I really hope that this goes over well. Next, I got a book that I have had my eye on for like 2 years. I've been telling myself that when I find it on sale on Pango for a low enough price, I would get it. And guess what? I found it, and that's Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. This is a novella. I fucking love a novella, and it's basically about if the KKK were literal demons from hell. We know that they were fucking demons from hell, but this is if they were literal demons sent from the underworld. And we have a woman named Maurice and her fellow resistance fighters, and they hunt the KKK demons and send them back to hell. I am very excited for this one. I've been waiting 2 years to have you in my hands, and it feels so good. The other one's kind of similar, actually. The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Kist. I watched Kayla talk about this book, and she loved it, and I trust that woman with my life. And so I've been waiting for like the past year and a half or so until it came on Pango at a good enough price. This is about an area called the Velkwood vicinity, and it's the topic of occult theorists, tabloid 1-hour documentaries, and even some pseudoscientific investigations. The block of homes disappeared behind a near impenetrable veil that only 3 survivors could enter, and only one has in the past 20 years until now. Talitha Velkwood has avoided anything to do with the tragedy that took her mother and 8-year-old sister. When a new researcher tracks her down and offers to pay her to go back to enter the vicinity, Talitha claims she's doing it just for the money. Despite all the crackpot theories over the years, no one has discovered what happened the night Talitha and her estranged former best friends Brett and Grace escaped their homes 20 years ago. Will she finally get the answers, or is this just another dead end? So instead of being a haunted house book, this seems like a haunted neighborhood book. And there's this impenetrable veil that reminds me of the shimmer in Annihilation. So I think I'm gonna enjoy this. Next, oh, this is a fun one. I was looking up, why was I looking it up? Oh, when I was doing one of the TBR jar videos, I pulled a slip that said read a book over 100 years old. And I was looking through the books that I own that are over 100 years old. Most of them are like children's classics. There's the Odyssey, there's some books of poetry, but I wanted to look up horror books that were over 100 years old. And the one that kept coming up for me was The Willows by Algernon Blackwood. That's so shiny. Hold on. There you go. The Willows by Algernon Blackwood. This is so small. This is 50 pages, 51 pages. And it doesn't even say what it's about, so I'm gonna have to look it up. I need to remember. 2 friends are midway on a canoe trip. Throughout the story, Blackwood personifies the surrounding environment, river, sun, wind, and imbues them with a powerful and ultimately threatening character. Most ominous are the masses of dense, desultory, menacing willows which moved of their own will as though alive, and they touched, by some incalculable method, my own keen sense of the horrible. It's one of Algernon Blackwood's best-known short stories. H.P. Lovecraft considered it to be the finest supernatural tale in English literature. The Willows is an example of early modern horror and is connected within the literary tradition of weird fiction. It was also written in 1907, so if you are doing any kind of a challenge or you just want to read a really old horror book, short story, The Willows by Algernon Blackwood. Although anything written by a man named Algernon Blackwood, I trust that it's going to be scary. I also got The Afterlife Project by Tim Weed. I don't remember what this is or why why I bought it. Let's see. It's a sci-fi book. Oh, I remember. Time fuckery, obviously. Okay. With humanity facing imminent extinction, Centauri project scientists use technology originally designed for interstellar travel to send a test subject 10 millennia into Earth's future. Marooned in an uninhabited wilderness, microbiologist Nicholas Hindman searches for evidence of remnant populations. He has a protocol to follow, but he's probably searching in vain, stranded on an empty planet silently orbiting the sun. Meanwhile, back in 2068 AD, a devastating hyperpandemic has quelled all talk of interstellar travel and thrown the future of humanity into grave doubt. 4 surviving members of the Centauri team board a vintage solar-powered sailing yacht for a harrowing journey in search of a second test subject. Their destination is a small volcanic island north of Sicily, rumored to harbor that rarest of creatures. A woman capable of getting pregnant, thereby ensuring this generation of Homo sapiens isn't the last. But first they must make it halfway across the post-apocalyptic globe, risking heat waves, oceanic megastorms, murderous gangs, deranged cult leaders, a volcanic eruption, and the dangerous microbes that continue to circulate through the planet's atmosphere. This feels like the Odyssey. Oh, it was a finalist for the Prism Prize for Climate Literature. Sick. Yeah, okay, dual timelines. We keep going back and forth between 10,151 years in the future and 2068. I mean, awesome. I feel like there's no way I'm not gonna love this. The next book I bought also for a very specific reason. I read God's Junk Drawer by Peter Clines and I am obsessed with it. I decided that I immediately needed to read everything that Peter Clines has ever written. I found, what is it, a book of his called 14? And for some reason, I can't find it in print anywhere. I bought that one on my Kindle, but one that I did find in print is Paradox Bound by the man himself, Peter Clines. It does feel like every book that he writes has some kind of time fuckery in it. 14, the one on my Kindle, it's been compared to Lost somehow. And as you might know, Lost is one of my favorite things on the planet. It's the best TV show that ever has and ever will exist. This one is about a man who, what happens? Nothing ever changes in Sanders. So why doesn't Eli Teague want to leave? Not that he'd ever admit it, but maybe he's been waiting for the traveler to come back. The one who roared into his life twice before, pausing just long enough to drop tantalizing clues before disappearing in a cloud of gunfire and a squeal of tires. The one who's a walking anachronism with her tricorn hat, flintlock rifle, and steampunked Ford Model A. The one who's being pursued by something. So basically this guy Eli, when he's a kid, he's walking along this road and this Model A appears out of nowhere with a woman driving it. And it's like she came out of thin air and she's being chased by like bad guys with guns. And then she disappears into the ether again. And she's clearly this time traveler and something is happening. And so Eli is now just waiting around for her to come back so he can become part of this breakneck chase across the country and through 2 centuries of history with nothing less than America's past, present, and future at stake. Time fuckery. Only a Little While Here by Maria Ospina I bought because my neighbor, who is also one of my closest friends here in Oregon, she found it at a bookstore and she says, hey, buy this immediately so we can buddy read it. And so I said, okay, say less. I don't remember what it's about at all. Maria Ospina evokes the gratification to be found through close, humble observation of nature. With characteristic precision and intensity, Ospina trains our attention on the lives of 5 creatures. A migratory songbird dazzled by city lights, an orphaned porcupine saved by kindness, 2 dogs grieving the loss of their human companions, and a determined beetle transported to a vast, unimaginable world. The surprising drama of their lives reveals the fragility and power of belonging and what it means to create or lose a home. Along the way, our narrator models the intense interest needed to mend the rift between humans and non-human creatures and celebrates animals' often overlooked status as witnesses of our shared world. Ecological fiction at its most soul-stirring. Anything that has to do with animals, ecology, wildlife conservation, Africa, time fuckery, anything that has to do with that, I will buy it if you tell me to buy it. I watched Train Dreams earlier in this quarter and I fell in love with it. I cried through the whole ending and so obviously I had to buy the book that the movie came from. This is Train Dreams by Dennis Johnson. It's the story of Robert Granier, a day laborer in the American West at the start of the 20th century. Buffeted by the... Oh, I don't want to say that. There's something on the back that I don't want to say because I do feel like it's kind of a spoiler for the movie. But this man goes through unimaginable loss, after which he struggles struggles to make sense of this strange new world. As his story unfolds, we witness both his shocking personal defeats and the radical changes that transform America in his lifetime. American West, turn of the century, a man trying to figure out how to live again after this insane loss. Maybe the book will make me cry as much as the movie did. Speaking of Africa, I reached out during one of these videos. I reached out to you guys and I was like, hey, any kind of African fiction, anything that you loved, please recommend it to me. One of you fine people recommended Butter Honey Pig Bread by Francesca Equiasi. And obviously I bought it right away. I'm going to preemptively say I apologize, I will pronounce some of these names incorrectly. In sensuous mythic prose, Francesca Equiasi's sweeping debut novel tells the interwoven stories of three Nigerian women, Kambirinachi and her twin daughters Kehinde and Taye. Believing herself to be an Ogbonje, a spirit that plagues a family with grief by dying repeatedly in childhood and being reborn, Kambirinachi fears the consequences of her defiant decision to stay alive. Her worst fears come true when Kehinde experiences a devastating childhood trauma that fractures the family in seemingly irreversible ways. Kehinde moves away to Montreal to heal and build a life of her own. Taye flees to London and attempts to numb her guilt and loneliness with reckless hedonism. After more than a decade apart, Taye and Kehinde return home to visit their mother in Lagos, where the three women must address the wounds of the past if they are to reconcile and move forward. It's an intergenerational tale of choices and their consequences, of motherhood, of the malleable line between the spirit and the mind, of finding new homes and mending old ones, of voracious appetites, of queer love, of friendship, faith, and above all, family. You had me at sensuous mythic prose. Oh, yet another book that I've been waiting years to get because I wanted it to be a good price on Pango. And that is Ghost Roots by Pemi Aguda. 12 imaginative stories set in Lagos, Nigeria. Oh, Lagos, Nigeria again. Hello. Pemi Aguda invokes everyday landscapes woven with strangeness and peopled with characters who cannot shed their ghosts. In Manifest, a woman sees the specter of her abusive mother in her daughter's face, and the daughter is overtaken by wicked and violent impulses. In Things Boys Do, three fathers notice something unnerving about their infant sons and suspect the boys are to blame for their misfortunes. In Breast Milk, a woman who forgives her husband for his infidelity finds herself unable to produce milk for her newborn. And in 24 Alhaji William Street, a teenage boy lives in the shadow of a mysterious illness that is killing the boys on his street. This has won, or been nominated for, a handful of awards. And also, this is the prettiest cover I've ever seen, although for a long time I thought that that was a deer wearing a neck scarf. It's not. The last one in this stack that I bought for myself is Everywhere Stories, edited by Clifford Garstang. I do not remember where I first saw it. I think this was recommended on Goodreads, actually, under something else. Anyway, I'm pretty sure this has like 2 ratings on Goodreads, so maybe we can read it, and if it's good, we can spread the good word. Travel invigorates and enlightens, and so does reading. You don't have to go to the Congo to gain an understanding of the challenges women face there. You don't have to go to Costa Rica to learn about resentment toward flyby evangelism. You don't have to go to Iran to sample Persian culture and anguish. When it's done right, fiction can transport you and show you the essential details, the soul of a place. A fiction writer is like an archaeologist in that way, digging, brushing away what doesn't belong, and revealing what a casual observer, a tourist, might miss. So this is an anthology of travel-related short stories, which is right up my f***ing alley. Okay, so those were the 11 books that I almost got away with being the only books that I've bought myself over the past 3 months. I was so close. And then I participated in Indie Bookshop Weekend, and I bought another 11 books. Although, to be fair, only 22 books purchased for myself over a 3-month period. That feels really good compared to the f***ery that I was doing a few years ago. And I did already go over these in a different video, so I'm not going to do the whole thing again, but I'm going to go over each one really briefly. I have Africa's Tarnished Name by Chinua Achebe, which is a non-fiction book of essays about the complexity, history, and appropriation of a continent. I have Bindi by Nnedi Okorafor, a sci-fi novella about the future. My Life in the Bush of Ghosts by Amos Tutuola, which is about a small boy who finds himself lost in the heart of an impenetrable African forest populated with fantastical beings and ghosts. Feather Woman of the Jungle, also by Amos Tutuola, which is about the people of a Yoruba village who gather every night in the moonlight to hear the adventures and wisdom of their 76-year-old village chief. The Expedition to the Baobab Tree, which is by Wilma Stockenstrom, in which a former slave seeks shelter in the hollow of a baobab tree, and she is finally able to reflect on her own existence and its meaning, bringing her a semblance of inner peace. We are the sole witnesses to her history, her capture as a child, her tortured days in a harbor city on the eastern coast as a servant, her journey with her last owner and protector, her flight, and the kaleidoscope world of her baobab tree. An Apprenticeship, or the Book of Pleasures by Clarice Lispector. I don't even know what it's about, but it's Clarice Lispector, so I'm gonna, I assume, be obsessed with it. We Like It Cherry by J.C. Morris, which is about a documentarist who gets invited to document an unknown tribe who reside in the harrowing, inhospitable Arctic. But it's a horror, so something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. Something horrifying is gonna happen. One Yellow Eye by Lee Radford, which is a zombie novel in some way. And then I got 3 short story anthology books. Howls from the Dark Ages, which is a bunch of medieval horror. Dominion, an anthology of speculative fiction from Africa. And Fast Ships, Black Sails, which is a bunch of pirate short stories. So with this one single day, independent bookshop day, I doubled the amount of books that I bought this quarter, but I'm okay with it. We're supporting local indie bookstores. That's never going to be something that I'm going to be upset that I've done. Last but not least, we have a pile of 6 books that have been sent to me or given to me by friends or subscribers. First, my neighbor gave me The Children by Melissa Albert. She accidentally bought 2 copies and she's like, hey, do you want this? And I said, yes. Guinevere Sharp has 2 childhoods. In one, she and her brother Ennis live in the wooded shadow of their family's isolated Vermont farmhouse. In the other, the pages of their mother's world-famous Ninth City books where their magical adventures have made them household names. In reality, Guinevere's childhood isn't the enchanted idyll her mother's readers imagine. She and Ennis are growing up near feral, unwashed and underfed, escaping each day to the wild woods they've made their playland. As Edith Sharp's books explode into epic popularity, the threats of a rural childhood give way to the escalating perils of fame. Until the night it all goes up in flames, leaving Edith's series unfinished and her children the sole survivors. And then as adults, they have to figure out what really happened the night of the fire, what dark history lies behind their mother's fantasy world, etc. Ozsor sent me 2 books, which I am so stoked about. Ozsor, you have no idea. The first is The Library of Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This was already a book that I knew that I had to go find because I want to read this before his new book Blacktail comes out in the fall. Blacktail is about a wolf who needs to seek revenge on the humans who killed his mate. The Library at Mount Char is time Carolyn has spent her life locked away in an infinite library, forced to study at the feet of the man who might be God. She's died a few times. There's some kind of time and space war. I've heard conflicting things over the years, but that just makes me more excited to read this fucking book. Ozsor also sent me Gideon the Ninth, which I have only ever heard incredible things about. There is a solar system of swordplay, cutthroat politics, and lesbian necromancers. What could I possibly want in this world more than lesbian necromancers? Chrissy also sent me 2 books. First is West with the Night by Beryl Markham. It's a memoir of this woman, Beryl Markham, who grew up in Kenya in the early 1900s and became like an adventurer extraordinaire. She had careers as a racehorse trainer and a bush pilot. She was the first woman in East Africa to be granted a commercial pilot's license. She became the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic from east to west. Considered a classic of outdoor literature and ranked number 8 by National Geographic Adventure on its list of the 100 best adventure books. Obviously, this is a very exciting book for me to read. Chrissy also sent Elegy for the Undead, another zombie novel, and it seems like it's going to be a literary zombie novel. Kind of like it lasts forever and then it's over. Jude and Lyle's newlywed life is shattered when a vicious attack leaves Lyle infected with a disease that transforms him into a violent and often incomprehensible person. With no cure for the zombie virus in sight, the young husbands begin to face— Gay! The young husbands? Oh my god! Gay literary zombie horror book. The young husbands begin to face the last months they have together before Lyle loses himself completely. Fond remembrances of young love meet the challenges of navigating a partner's terminal illness in this bittersweet tale that explores both how we fall in love and how we say goodbye when the time comes far too soon. Me up. And last but certainly not least, I did indie bookshop weekend with my friend Sophie, and when she came over, she brought me The Vaster Wilds by Lauren Groff. A servant girl escapes from a settlement. She carries nothing with her but her wits, a few possessions, and the spark of God that burns hot within her. What she finds is beyond the limits of her imagination and will bend her belief in everything that her own civilization has taught her. The Vaster Wilds is a work of raw and prophetic power that tells the story of America in miniature through one girl at a hinge point in history to ask ask how and if we can adapt quickly enough to save ourselves. That doesn't really tell me anything. I still don't know what that book is about. But with that, we are done. That was a total of 34 books. 11 that I bought myself that didn't have to do with Indie Weekend, 11 that I bought during Indie Weekend, 6 from publishers, and 6 from friends. And that's it. What books have you gotten in the last quarter? Are there any books? I shouldn't be asking for book recs, but I am. I'm always going to be asking for more book recs. Are there any books that you have purchased or read recently that you think I personally would love and need to own? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Anything time fuckery, anything that has to do with Africa in any sense. I'm still looking for Space Whale Treasure Planet recommendations. I need one more book in order to be able to start that video. So far I have Mad Sisters of Essie and Canon. Someone told me to do Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but I've watched that movie. So I don't, like, I'll do it if nothing else comes up, but I don't want to really read a book that I've already read. You know, if anyone has any other space whale type books, let me know. And that's it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying a little further away so you can't see my entire face peeling off. I appreciate you. I hope we're having a good summer. I hope we're being happy, healthy, having a good time. I love you. Goodbye. A voracious appetites. Voracious appetites.